All right, good morning all you YouTube guys. It's Bart with High Tech Motorsport in Elk River, Minnesota, back again. Had a lot of requests and a lot of calls, appreciate them all. Take a look at my video on camshaft design and also cylinder heads for GM. Today I thought we'd do a little fun time with the dyno, and people have been asking about that, about how it works. It's a Dyno Jet 248. It's got a wideband air fuel that goes in the tailpipe to sniff. We can handle up to 1,850 horse at the wheels, 1,250 foot-pounds of torque. I can run 220 miles an hour safely in an enclosed cell. Now, not brilliant. I just copied what came out of the NASCAR shops down in Virginia and North Carolina. And this particular cell, as you will see, has two 20,000 CFM screw fans on it, a 4x4 duct in the ceiling. We can change the air in the cell every 7.5 seconds when they're at full song. It also has noise suppressor boxes on it to keep it nice and quiet for a neighbor, and shutters on the outside so it closes down during rainstorms, that type of thing. We're doing a 2002 Mustang today. It's a completely stock 4.6 V8 car. We're going to take it in the back, put a set of 410 gears in it, replacing the 327s, and then we're going to take and do the cold air intake and throttle body and plenum, and then we're going to tune it. This way we get a baseline is what we call this. We run it up and you see what the thing makes for horsepower and torque before we do any modifications. The dyno is really good for just figuring out what you came in with, what you're leaving with, what you paid good money for. Anybody that doesn't have a dyno sheet that doesn't cross at 5250 has got one faked up. Now the Dyno Jet 248 is a really simple machine. All it is railroad car pieces and brakes. It's a 4,000-pound drum. It's in the floor. We anchor the car down with 4 rear straps, 10,000 pounds each crossed. They're set in cement 4 feet down, and then 2 in the front, same thing. It's always the pull and trying to get the car to run off the dyno that's exciting. We've had stuff, nothing's ever broken a strap. I've had over almost 8,000 cars and trucks on so far since 2003. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also called the heartbreaker, because if your car really doesn't work, it'll tell you all that fabrication that you get on the internet about. I bought a 500 horsepower motor, then it makes 195 at the wheels. Just did one of those in the olds that we're fixing here shortly. It's just part of life. So anyway, here it is on the outside. We happen to have glass all the way around. Big viewing lounge. Got a big screen up here. Everything's in color. Shows RPM, air fuel, speed, and what's going on inside the cell as far as weather. And then back here, we've got the viewing lounge, which has a talking deer head, more screens, so people can sit here and watch. We did this we've had bachelor parties in here. No alcohol, no naked women, but it's a lot of fun for people. That way they can sit right here and watch the whole thing. All right, so let's go in and look at the cell and what it does. All right, enclosed cell, 4x4 duct in the ceiling with venting. It's got sound insulation in it so it doesn't howl and carry on. We've got white walls, white ceiling. It's triple lighted with LED lights, so it's nice and bright and white in here. You can probably see that. This is FRP, which is fiberglass reinforced panels on the wall, so we can clean it up, keep all the dirt off of it. We just repainted, because it does get kind of mangy. You can see right above the garage door that we keep it as clean as possible. That part has not been repainted. Now, a couple things people like to film inside. This is the 4.6 stock V8 2002 Mustang. A couple things happened bad. I've broken 3 engines, have exploded on the dyno, 4 drive shafts, and 1 rear end. So I keep this here. See this big crack in the window right here? If you can see that. That is from a connecting rod that came out of a supercharged V6 Mustang engine that a guy thought he could build for his wife, a supercharged one, and the connecting rod came out, hit the ground, bounced twice, and broke that safety glass. I leave that here because a lot of young kids and other people want to stay inside, stick their head inside the engine compartment and see what's going on. Now that would have killed somebody or hit them right in the crotch, and they wish they were dead. So this is our air fuel right there. That sniffs the tailpipe all the time. We've got these are our sound boxes right here. The fans are behind this stuff. They go out, in, out, and around and down, keep the noise down for the neighbors. We got 4 20,000-pound straps all hooked up to the axle, and 2 up front. We are ready to rock and roll. I have a booster fan right here. I'm going to turn that on at the very end. It helps the car just keep cool and running it. We warm it up a little bit, and then we go into Third gear, 1-to-1 ratio, 2,500, 3,000 RPM, wherever it doesn't downshift. Mat the throttle, hit the sample button, which you'll see when I hold this up here, that yellow area that says clear area behind dyno. That looks, turns green, it says sampling. So that's the one I watch all the time when I'm in here. I can do front drive and rear wheel drive, but it's a 2-wheel drive only machine. I've got two 20,000 CFM fans are on these motor drives right here. They're completely adjustable, but they're loud as all get out. So I'm gonna fire this up after we get this set up, and you're gonna hear how loud the fans are. We'll be inside the car together so you can watch what's going on. But here go the fans. And I'm turning on the wideband air fuel and also the front fan that helps block. Okay. All right, we're inside the car. See the screen? It's got an off-on button for the railroad brakes right there. Click it on, click it off to release it. Gotta fire this up, put it in drive. There's your tag. Turn this on. Has to be on traction control, has to be off, otherwise the car freaks out. I'll put it into gear. I'm gonna roll up the window here so it's a little quieter. And there we go. There we go. Naturally the phone would ring. All right, so put it into drive. Speed's on the left, tax in the middle if you can see that. Do it right here actually. I'll spool it up a little bit here. This is how you test horsepower and torque. You use the tack lead and then the speed of the drum and the acceleration of mass for that good old-fashioned stuff that you learned in high school or didn't learn in high school, for those of us that were kind of like, I don't need that. All right, so we're at 3,000 RPM. Letting it warm up a little bit. See, the temp is still on cold. You can hear the thing howling a little bit. I'm in second gear right now just to give it a little bite. Let it warm up with the tires a little bit. Don't ever want to pull a car in overdrive. You only want to do it in third or fourth gear, whichever one the direct ratio is. Depends if it's a stick, 4-speed, whatever it might be. So this is going to run. It's probably going to hit the speed limit the first time out, but we'll give it a shot and see what it does. All right, we're back. I warmed up the car. You can see the temp gauge is now in the middle. All the oil's been around the motor. Everything is nice and ready to go. Never pull a cold car on a dyno. You could hurt the motor. So when you go to make a run, you see it up in the dyno. We're in third gear now. It's at 15.4-to-1, which is lean, but that's part throttle cruise. 2,100 RPM, 49 miles an hour. What you do is you roll on the throttle as you're hitting the green button to record, then you hit the green button again to stop recording when you get to red line. So you can watch the speed. I'll put it down here, makes it a little easier to see on there. Here we go. Up there, we'll get that out. Get a total of about 130 miles an hour with the little baby Mustang. We're just taking it down. We push the red button to hit the brakes. And that'll slow the car down and it'll come to a stop. Like jump out, we'll turn the car off, and I'll go in and grab the dyno sheet and we'll show you what's going on for horsepower and torque. All right, everybody, we're back here at High Tech. We got done with the dyno. I shut down the fans. That way, if anybody ever asks if you can run a dyno, the answer is yeah, let me look at the YouTube video. I'm fine, I can do it, no problem. So here's the printout on that car, on that Mustang. You'll notice that mathematically the lines have to cross right here at 5250, because here's your equation for horsepower. It's the ability to do work over a given amount of time. So it's RPM times torque divided by a constant, which is 5250. I don't know why they came up with it. It's not my, I didn't do it. Don't blame me. Call Corey. It's Corey's fault. Let's go with that. All right, so we figured to the wheels with the automatic, with lockup converter, which that's the new Mustang has and everything else has. You take the actual horsepower at the wheels, which is 216.92. You take 216.92 divided by 0.80. So the crank horsepower is 271. The torque at the wheels is 256 divided by 0.80, 320 foot-pounds. Now you'll notice here at the very bottom, the air-fuel ratio, as it comes across, it should be about 13:1. That's the dotted line, so it's easy for your eyes to follow. This is me rolling in the throttle right here. It's a little higher at 15:1. That's number of parts air to 1 part fuel. When this rolls down here, this is slightly rich by 1 point fuel. We can get some more horsepower when we tune it. But as I told you, we're going to do a muffler delete, we're going to do a cold air intake, we're doing a throttle body and plenum, and a set of 410 gears, which will make the car a lot snappier. It does make any more horsepower, but the car becomes much quicker. So tune in for the next dyno run with this. I'll include this at the very end after we get done. And I'm also going to include, we're going to take the rear end apart and show you what goes on with putting a set of gears into the Mustang, the throttle body and plenum, and the cold air intake. Kind of fun for all you guys with Mustangs. All you Camaro guys, just settle down. Your time is coming. Good morning, all you YouTube guys. This is Elsden. He's one of our frequent flyers. He really lives here. We're doing this morning, we're doing that Mustang I told you about, the 2002. We're putting gears in it. I'm going to show you how that goes. John's lining up everything right now. Chris is working on a cold air intake and also a throttle body and plenum. Should pick up an extra 10 to 15 horse, maybe 20 horse on this situation. The 410s will make the car much crisper. We also have a custom tune for it. So just want to show you some of the differences here. The new BBK throttle body is already in place. It is also the plenum. The plenum goes down between there and the intake manifold. Here's the stock one that came off it, the little Mustang horsey thing on top of it. You'll see it's got the throttle body in it. That's the little blade deal in there. The one we've got is much, much larger, will move more air. And they've got these ugly blue tubes on here, but this is the one from BBK. Works extremely well on Mustang, easy to get, works really good. So this one, as you can see, is kind of small on the inside. Little hole there, but this bolts right on. Then the cold air intake, we're using a Spectre. They do a nice job on their stuff. It's all made by Chinese kids. They're making $3 an hour. So I feel kind of guilty about that, but I got to offer that to my customers. So you see the tube here is nice and straight. And then we're going to put on a big blue filter at the end. Looks like that. No oil. Never put oil on these things, no matter what they say. It gets on your, gets on the mass air and makes a mess. Chris is doing the final attachment here for the little parts. Here's the original pieces that came off of here, the ugly ass big filter, kind of a thing that goes somewhere in the car. No, that's kidding, that's just the cold air intake. And this is the tube right here that is replaced. So it kind of goes like that, or kind of goes like this probably. So it's got all the original pieces in it, but you see these little speed bumps right here? That slows down the air versus this nice big shiny tube that's real straight. Air is just a fluid, remember everybody. When you hit a bump, it slows everything down, so it works like a champ. When it's finally installed, we'll go over everything and I'll show you what it is, and we'll be on the dyno later on today. All right, we're back again. Chris is finishing up with the cold air on that 2002 Mustang. I wanted to show you guys what a rear differential looks like. You basically got on the back of this thing a ring and pinion, an install kit, and what they call either a posi unit or a carrier. The carrier can be a posi unit, or it can be a one-wheel wonder, or whatever it wants to be. There's not a lot of mystery here. It does take some time to set these things up with proper backlash, but this will change the way your car performs at any given speed. Most of the time we'll go to a deeper ratio. This car came with 3.27 to 1 ratio. This is now going to a 4.10. That helps the car get out its own way, kind of like you're pedaling your bicycle and you downshift a couple gears so you can go up a hill. So here's what we got. We got the original carrier. It looks like this. It's called the carrier. This is a Ford part. You'll see all the little springs and gears and stuff inside there. This is actually in really good shape. The gentleman just wanted a newer style posi unit. And here's a new Yukon posi unit for the 8.8 Ford. fancy dancy springs. That way when one tire starts to spin, the other tire also kicks in to give you double the traction, so to speak. Now you notice this one comes with gears on it already. This is the way it came from the factory, these gears right here. So we've got as a complete install kit. Puts all new gears on both sides in a shim pack, so you get the alignment between the ring and pinion. All right, here's your old ring and pinion right here. This goes into the center of the housing. You see the number of teeth right there, and it rolls around inside of this little gear right here. It actually goes in the center, but I'll show you that when it's installed. Here's the new one. This is 410. You'll notice that it's got a bunch of extra teeth when you look at them side by side. Gives you a different ratio. Whenever you buy these, you always want to buy them new, otherwise you might get something that's already got a noise going to it. And there's the new pinion install. You see the difference in size between the two. That's because of the ratio once again. This will be the same where the bearing goes, pinion bearing, but this will have different number of teeth, and the different number of teeth here gives you your ratio. So John's going to put this all together. Say hi, John. He's my top guy. Couldn't run the shop without him, so you can't quit. That's the deal. Anyway, he's going to put this all together, and as he assembles it, the most important thing when you get everything together is doing the pinion to make sure you get proper preload on it, and then do your backlash so you don't get a howly set of gears. Anyway, we'll be tuning out now for a couple minutes. We'll be putting it together. Takes him a couple hours, and I'll do it all again. Good day, all you YouTubers. This is Bart Wells, High Tech Motorsport, coming back to you with our little Mustang project. It's a 2002 with a 4.6 single overhead cam engine. It's only got 44,000 miles on it, but as all you 4.6 people know, she's kind of a little bit of a slow-moving animal. This one we did some basic items for the customer. We put a set of 410 gears in. That'll be coming up right in the middle of this. I'm sorry about not getting the final set on that. We got real busy. Gears are my least favorite thing to do probably in the world because they're tedious stuff. You got to get them down to where it's 8,000s backlash. It's freaking horrible. I just have John do them, and he comes back looking kind of stunned. Anyway, they're all done. We took out the 327s, did 410 gears, so that's going to increase the multiplication of the torque and horsepower by about 25%. It will speed up the RPM at cruise, but with the overdrive transmission, it's not significant. We also did a muffler delete to change the sound. You'll get a chance to hear all that. And we did a cold air intake, and we did a custom tune on it. As you remember, we've got the chassis dyno numbers from before. Showed you guys how we run the chassis dyno, and now we're going to see what all of our items have done. Our tunes are all set up, for example, in this 4.6 to run 87 octane gas. Unlike a lot of the box tunes where people they throw timing at it, make you run 91 octane at 40 cents a gallon more. Doesn't really need it because the engine in this is a fairly low compression, about 9 to 1, 8.9, something like that. And the flame trouble is actually a little bit quicker on 87 octane gas, and it works just fine. So there's no reason to put a bunch of extra money in it. So I'm going to show you this. Here's the cold air intake installed. This happens to be a Spectre with a blue conical filter. You can wash this. It's got the shiny tube, and then the throttle body was also put on the BBK throttle body in plenum. So the big thing is with the dyno, of course, stop thinking about it as being a, hey, how much horsepower do I make? In this situation, the guys drop some coin, and the answer is, what do we pick up? So it's always the delta, the change, that makes the big difference in this. So we're expecting the throttle body is about an extra 15% flow, and so is the cold air. Taking off the mufflers will help. The gears don't make any extra horsepower, they just make the car much quicker. All right, so we're gonna go back over here to the dyno. I brought up Mr. Davis's old dyno sheet. I put it up here, as you can see. It made a maximum of 217 horse at the wheels, 256 foot-pounds of torque, and the air fuel's on the bottom at 12 to 1, which is rich. So as you remember how we do this now, I'm gonna get the car fired up. We're gonna put the fans on it. We're gonna run it up, and then we're gonna make a pull, and we'll see how our tune did. If it needs to be adjusted, we will do that, but if it's perfect, of course, then we're gonna go take it for a spin and make sure everything's okay. What we're trying to do here is see what we actually, what the guy actually paid for with his hard-earned money. We wanna make sure he's getting his bang for the buck. So this is the first step in what we do for these cars to make them quicker. The 410 gears will pick up almost a full half a second and a quarter mile, make the car much snappier, especially with the automatic. And then from here, he's gonna have to go to long tube headers and then a set of my stage 2 cams, and then that's pretty much done. The cars will make 375 crank, about 285 with the wheels with the automatic with full exhaust system and tuning. So all right, I'm gonna get it fired up here and we'll come back to you when we run the thing up. Okay everybody, it's Bart Wells, High Tech Motorsport back here again. We're on the Dyno Jet 248 chassis down at the shop. And we've got this 02 Mustang that we put a cold air intake, a throttle body in plenum, a muffler delete, and 410 gears in. We got our custom tune in it. We've warmed the car up. Remember, I'm teaching you guys all how to run your own dyno, so someday you can all just come here and run your cars on my dyno. I can just watch and make fun of you. Anyway, make sure you warm it up. Drivetrain has to be warmed up. We have to bring up the coolant temp. That way you make sure you get a good solid run. Always run them in third gear or the 1-to-1 ratio gear with a 4-speed. The old-fashioned ones is fourth gear all the time. But you don't want to put any pressure on the transmission. All right, so we're gonna fire this up. You can hear the difference. I've got the fans on, obviously, outside the dyno cell. We've got the twin 20,000 CFM screw fans. I've got a booster fan in front. We've got a wide band in the back that's gonna superimpose up on the sheet when we're done. And this thing is a little noisier now because we did the muffler delete. We'll take it outside and also get a sound out there. It sounds pretty good. A little noisy on D-cell type thing, but that's what the guy wanted. So as you can see, we've got our screen up now. That's our make run screen with the wide band. We're gonna fire this thing up. We're gonna get in third gear, take off the traction control because that otherwise the car goes nuts. And we're gonna pull it in third gear without overdrive. So here we go. All right, got our big brake here. We take that off. Drop it into drive. Take the traction control off. Otherwise it gets really weird. And push the overdrive button off. So there we go. Gonna take it up. The air fuel ratio, as you remember, will want to be around 12.8, 13.0 to 1 if we do it right. Gonna get it up in the third gear. It's a little noisy in here, so if I'm talking too loud or too soft, work with me. I bring it up, let it settle in at about 2,800, 3,000. Hit the record button. Here we go. I expected because the throttle body and plenum will move more air than the stock one ever could. Didn't do a whole lot down low, mostly because of the fact that if you don't need more airflow, the motor can't use it, All right, so I'm going to print this out. We're going to take a look at it together. Okay, Bart at High Tech back here again. We pulled that little Mustang. I hit the printout from the 248 Dyno Jet, and let's look at the difference so you can understand how this goes. Pretty soon you'll all be pro guys on tuning and pro individuals on dyno work. All right, here you go. So here's the dyno sheet. Now you can take a look at right here. The red line is the last pull that we did. The blue line is what we call the baseline. So when it came in here, it made 217 horse at the wheels and 256 foot-pounds of torque. The factory rating is 260 horsepower at the crank and 302 foot-pounds at the crank. So I always do a 20% loss differential. All right, it's leaving with 240.5 horsepower at the wheels, 264 foot-pounds of torque. The air fuel on the bottom here, see the red line, the dotted red line, that's 13.0 to 1. That's where you're gunning for to make maximum power on naturally aspirated cars. The blue line is what it came in with. So we can always look at it before and after. You want to see what you're leaving with, what you paid your hard-earned money with. So this thing now is making, if you used a 20% loss, we picked up 24 horse at the wheels and 8 foot-pounds of torque. Not a monster amount, but when the thing's only making 216 to start with, it's quite significant. I got over 12 or 13%, whatever that math thing is. So let me just show you one thing about the curve here. You'll notice the red line, when it comes up, it starts to pull away with the new modifications we did. We did the cold air intake, throttle body and plenum, and also a muffler delete, and then 410 gears with our tune. Now, see how much straighter this red line is? How it doesn't have this herky-jerky stuff? That's just timing not being correct from the Ford factory settings, and also a speed differential between the 410 gears and 327s that were in it. However, I want to show you one significant thing. See right here? See this little curly Q that comes up like this? That is the torque converter locking up at wide open throttle. This is set up to go at 5,000 RPM for maximum acceleration and protect the transmission. So this little curly Q right here is just the torque converter locking up. Everybody's going to be like, oh, what's that little shark fin? That's the torque converter locking up. So we don't have, this is the basic first step of mods for an O2 Mustang, or everything from 96 on up to 2004, although the early ones have non-PI, non-performance improved heads. They don't quite perk up as well. The next step for this guy is going to be a set of long tube headers and custom camshafts for me, so we can crank it up another 40 horsepower, maybe 50. Anyway, that's your lesson for today on dyno stuff and 2002 Mustangs. Good morning, all you YouTubers. I got something interesting for you to see here. It's Bart at High Tech Motorsport, Elk River, Minnesota. The all kinds of stuff shows up here to be tuned. Wanted you to see this thing that you can see in the background here. It's a 64 Cadillac convertible. It's needs a little help, but we get all kinds of stuff in here, and somebody has taken the time. It's a little premature for tuning as far as I can see, but the guy wants to see what it'll do. It's a 64 Cadillac 454 big block Chevrolet motor, and the guy has taken the time to do twin turbos, non-intercooled, so it's what we call a hot air car, and put on a Holley fuel injection system. We're going to tune that up for him and do the best we can. I wanted you to see this because this is real important when we talk about airflow and what works and what doesn't. So he's taken the time to use these nice big pipes off the exhaust, okay, and going up to these hot air turbos right here, which you should put an intercooler on, but he didn't do that. Then he did this. I want you to see how small this is. He's locked these little turbos down. The turbo should make 500-600 a piece, so about 1,200 horsepower total, into a little bitty tiny tube going to the top. So this is the airflow restriction. Just remember, when you start thinking about an engine, it's about power. It's how much air you can get in and out of the engine. It's just an air pump. Simplicity is awesome when you just think of it that way. Consequently, this guy's got it nicked down to about a 2-inch tube, and he's going to be kind of limited to about 400 or 500 no matter how much boost this thing makes. And this homemade thing up here up front is really quite poor. But we'll tune it up, give it back to him, tell him things to change, and he can go back to it. But I thought you guys might enjoy seeing some of the stuff that shows up here. This is a don't do it like this part of our show.